Welcome to Podro Pascal, a Pedro Pascal podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Leishman.
And I'm your other host, Catrina Dennis.
And this week, we are here for episode 2 of The Last of Us. We're a day late because it was our lovely producer's birthday. Ashley was having a birthday, and we didn't want to make her work. Mm-hmm. So we did it the next day. Happy 18th birthday. She's older than 18. I'm making a joke.
She's older than 18, but younger than 40 because we're making an only older than 18 joke. And that's how you can tell.
Yeah, exactly. So she's somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Not over 40, not under 18.
And 39. Or 40. Ashley's, she's in that gray area somewhere. But yeah, so we're here for the second episode of The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal as Joel Miller. And this isn't going to be as long or eventful as the premiere, because this episode's a little bit more contained, but there's still a lot to talk about.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So Katrina, before we get into the nitty gritty of this episode, what were some of your favorite parts of the second episode?
Ooh, honestly, I really loved every scene that we saw Joel slightly open up to Ellie. We see the seedlings of their relationship really getting planted in this episode, and it was nice to just kind of see the two of them come together. And then just Tess being an awesome badass this episode was really amazing. And yeah, it was fun. It was a good second episode.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. I loved all that. I also love little things like there were some fun little one-liners from Ellie that I really loved, just because you could see just how sassy and quickly she'll snap at everyone, and I enjoyed seeing that more and more in this episode. Whenever someone would say something to her, and she'd be pretending to be a clicker or whatnot.
I love the bit with her continuously asking to have a gun.
I shoot her down. Yeah, this was my favorite response of hers. This was my favorite response of hers. Where she says, okay, Jesus, fine, I'll have to throw a fucking sandwich at them because they're going into the clickers, and she's like, can I have a gun? And Joel's like, fuck no. So she's like, all right, well, I guess, what do I have? This sandwich. Great, thanks. But yeah, let's get into this. So the beginning of the episode goes back to 2003. It's Indonesia, and is all about a scientist who she's the one who figures out what's going on. She's the first one, as far as we know. And I think that in the pilot they also hinted that the scientist in Indonesia is the one who figured it out, that basically the cordyceps were growing, and she says in that beginning part, bomb your cities and go be with your family, we're basically fucked. Which is terrifying, and also not normally how we kind of see these post-apocalyptic shows forming with stuff like that. Normally it's a bunch of denial. And she straight up was like, nope, not good. Don't know what to tell you other than it's not good.
Yep. Yeah, that was a really wonderful performance too. I love these openings to each episode that kind of frame what we're about to see in the episode without being too overzealous with it. So I enjoyed that because it plays directly into what Tess tells Ellie later in the episode. So I thought that was a really nice way to present it.
Yeah, and I think it really sets the tone because then, like, this is, like, the first time we're seeing one of the bombed cities because it cuts to them, sitting or Ellie wakes up is how it comes into the modern storyline,
Mm.
and she's sitting in, like, this mossy area, which is really it very much looks like the game, but is also just very pretty to look at if you don't think too much about it. If you're not like, "Oh, yes, this is because they bombed a city." There's all this greenery and, like, it's pretty even though it's in rubble.
Mhm.
Um, and it is her just sitting there. She wakes up, she looks over to find, these 2 lovely individuals just staring at her,
That's gonna be a good meme
as
someday
she
where it's like where she's like you try to sneak out and like your mom and dad are there.
Yeah, I am gonna make Ashley send me that picture for my own use because I do love that she, like, wakes up and they're just, like, sitting like this. But all of this is it's leading up to them going outside in Boston, and you see the rubble, and you see kind of, like, what happened so that they could try and stop the progression of the infection, and so it was really kind of, like, jarring to, like, realize that you're like, "She said you have to do this to stop it. They are stopping it, and that is exactly what they did to do it," and so it's scary.
It's very scary. This episode was really good with tension. I really enjoyed like just a lot of the moments where the characters are alone and moving away from a clicker was just done really, really well. It was very scary without having jump scares, which I loved. Like, just love that there are just no real jump scares in this show so far.
Yeah, it's like it's using horror in a different way. It's like preying on our own fears about stuff,
Mhm.
and which I like. I haven't seen Chernobyl, but I've heard that Chernobyl's a lot of that, where it's just like it weighs heavily on you because you like see what humankind is capable of and whatever, whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
That is on my list to watch because I do like the show a lot. I like how Craig Mazin is doing it. So I was like, oh, I'm more interested in watching Chernobyl now versus before, where everyone was like, it's good, but it's heavy. I'm like, yeah, no shit. A show about Chernobyl is heavy. Thanks for that information. This show does a really good job of like layering the fear of like, oh shit, like some of this stuff could actually happen in like the perfect scenario for like a cordyceps disease or like evolution. I got there. But I think the show's doing a really good job of layering in like the real life fear that we all have, because every
Mm.
person I've talked to who's watching the show is like, yeah, this all scares me, but then switches it into like the actual like apocalypse part of it, and like the horror like aspect of it is not that scary. So it's
Right.
just the, like, possibility part that is actually frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's not like we have the best history of like preserving pandemics. So the idea that like eventually it will get or it could potentially get so bad someday in this world or another one because we just don't care enough is kind of horrifying. And they like one of the things that I noticed in this is when Tess does talk about the bombings, she says that like here it worked. Like there are a number of more like she's hinting to the fact that like the U.S. has a lot more survivors than other countries we're lucky to have. Because other countries took it more seriously. So, yeah.
Which, listen, in this world where, like, a weird fungus-looking person can just bite me, I would wanna be somewhere else, to be
Yeah.
honest. I don't wanna be living in Boston.
No, no. Trying to move out of the city.
Sorry to
Trying
Boston.
to get out.
Um, but yeah, like so the whole episode is kind of not slow, but it is like there's not as much happening. It is a lot of like them talking, which is actually kind of nice to
Hmm.
see Tess kind of just get like time to talk and be a character,
Hmm.
which she gets more in this than she does in the game. Not much, but she does get more. Um,
Hmm.
which is slowly becoming a trend. because Sarah got more screen time and got more character, and
Tommy
now
did.
Tess is, well, and Tommy's storyline's different, but like, and now Tess is getting more screen time, and actually getting to like do some more things
Mhm.
because her ending was pretty badass. We'll get to that in a second because there's still more to talk about with this episode, but like she went out like a bad she like
Yes.
she didn't go out and was like, I'm a clicker now. Woo." Um, but so they're like walking around a lot. They go up to this hotel. To be quite honest, when I watched my screener for this episode, I thought those pillows were green screen.
Oh, really?
I truly thought that was a green screen. Only to discover that it is in fact just the set design is bright green
Mhm.
pillows.
Yeah. I was surprised. Okay, so some of the things didn't make a whole lot like in the set design, and maybe someone can correct me on this in the comments because I'm like searching for an answer. But if that area of Boston was bombed, why are so many wine glasses upright in that restaurant? That
That
bothered, that
was
really bothered me. Like, if there's like some kind of scientific reason for it, or someone can answer this for me, like, please, I just want to know. Like, my hyper focus just went there while I was like, they were panning the pan across like the restaurant. I was like, what? How? Like, a whole building toppled over down the street, and you're telling me these wine glasses are gonna be standing up?
I like
No.
the idea that somebody came to this hotel after it was all said and done, and they were like, "Oh, they got wine, let's go," and then just like had a bunch of wine.
Yeah.
I did like there are things about this whole sequence that I really did like
Mm.
because like it's obviously very funny when Joel is making fun of Ellie because she says I can't swim, and she says something about there not being a pool, and he goes, "No, smartass," and just jumps down into the water, and he comes up to like his knee, and she's just like, "How was I like?" And she's like clearly that teenager who was like, "How was I supposed to know?" But also is so like upset that she was called a dumbass and proven wrong by an adult man that she's just like, I'm not responding to this."
Mhm.
Um, and in that same sequence, though, we get to learn like she asks Joel and Tess if they uh ever stayed somewhere like this, and Tess answers, "We weren't those kind of people." So it's
Mm.
like you get a little bit of her backstory in that she wasn't rich or well off at before.
Mhm.
She wasn't someone who like would stay at these hotels where like we know that Joel isn't because we saw Joel even though his house was very nice, he could have for sure done that at some
Yeah,
point.
I
I don't know, that
mean,
was a nice ass house.
it was a really nice house for a single dad in Austin in like 2003. So
Well, it was before the recession.
that's
Uh,
true.
so we don't know where he would have been. George Bush. I will say that this week there's not been enough memes about how George Bush would have reacted to this news,
Oh god.
which
Oh
was
my
my
god.
favorite part about the premiere. Was I saw a meme of like when George Bush was being told about 9/11, but it was like,
Yeah.
sure, the cordyceps the mushrooms are infecting people. Which God, I love the internet.
Mm,
But
it's perfect.
the internet, you're perfect. Um, but yeah, so it's like they're in this hotel. Ellie is messing around and finds a dead body. Because she just like moves a cart. So that's like no, like yeah. I'm back. I'm on your side about the wine glasses because
Right.
there's a
Right?
whole
Everything else is in ruin.
there's a whole
Like,
dead body.
like exactly. There's like I just nothing makes sense about those freaking wine glasses except for the fact that maybe someone came and had a whole bunch of wine and left them upright. But they would have
Maybe
had to do that recently because it's Boston and that place has weather and there were like no closed windows in that restaurant either. So I don't know. Someone correct me, please, because that threw me off, and I thought about it for the rest of the episode, and I'm still
that
thinking about it now.
that's me in the apocalypse though. I would go there and be like, "Oh, shit, they have wine," and then, like,
Let's
"Let's
go.
fucking go," and then they go upstairs, they're like, "Boop, boop, boop, can't get in this room, can't climb over to the next building I gotta climb to." So then, um, Tess is like, "I got it," and she climbs over, like, this weird thing, jump down the other room. Ellie
Mhm.
and Joel are being mean to each other because 'cause they're still not BFFs yet. Um, and they go in there, that's when they see the weird, like, green chairs.
Mhm.
And then you really get to see just, like, kinda how messed up Boston is. Isn't that the shot where you see, like, the broken building?
Mhm.
Because I can't remember if
Yeah.
that was the first one or the later.
Yeah, that's the first time because they walk out into, like, the open, and you really, like, get a good look at it, and also this is it was really cool because it, like, I talked a little bit about my history with The Last of Us, but, like, this was the level that they had us play testing, at the very first Last of Us media event in California, so I went through Boston, and so seeing, like, from the inception of that to, like, the first version of the game to the remastered version of the game to this, it's just been like I would love to see all of those shots just like lined up just to see what the comparisons are.
Well, yeah, and it's so cool. Like, there are, like, certain shots throughout this game, and I will say, as someone who saw it, it is that they're in throughout the show, um, that are just like, yeah, that's from the game, and it's
Mhm.
really cool to kinda see how they incorporate those, 'cause
Mhm.
it would be easy to either just, like, shot for shot do it or be like, "No, we can't do anything like the game, like, we can do these characters in the story, but we can't go that far," and it kinda does a fun balance of making up their own shots and how they wanna film these scenes and just kind of paying homage to the game, and that's kinda cool. I like that. That's how you do an adaptation, folks.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, then they do some more walking. There's a lot of walking.
Yeah, you could definitely call this a journey game or a journey show. This is not the end of their walking either because
No.
they have to cover some serious ground. But they get through a lot of iconic spots in Boston, including the museum.
Yeah, before the was it before the museum though when they're talking about, yeah, because Tess is talking real casually to her about
Mhm.
whether or not anyone's gonna come looking for Ellie, to which Ellie is like, "I don't have any parents." And then, she said, "A boyfriend?" She went, "Nope."
Mhm.
And I like
Yeah,
that no one pressed on. Well, I guess it was 2003
I mean, there's that, and then
ideologies.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I love that like scene because that even for people who don't know the game, the quick answers that Ellie gives to Tess there tell you way more than anything else would have. So I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, like, it's a nice, like, eh, uh, people who don't know and people who don't, you have an idea.
Yeah, you like get to learn if you're paying attention, you're gonna come back to the scene and go, ah, oh, okay, got it.
That is true. So, yeah, so then they go into the museum. So now you've played this. So talk about the museum in the game because I've only seen it played through, but you've played it. Talk about the museum part in the
It's so
game.
it's so eerie. I I think that's why I loved the scenes of the characters just kind of like wandering around and kind of creeping because they know that the baddies are there. The clickers are in that area, and I'm like, oh man, that's the tension that you get in the game. Like when you're trying to get around the map and you never know until it's like as soon as you hear them, it's too late, basically, because the clicks are so soft that, like, if you're hearing the clicks, it means they're really close to you. And yeah, I that scene was really fun. I think I saw like a special or something from the game, like some behind the scenes stuff that said that like the crew went to like the Boston Museum and took like lots of pictures of the artifacts there so that they could replicate them accurately for the game, and then I also suppose they did that for the show, so it was really cool.
Yeah, in that same feature, Craig Mazin was talking about why they switched. to tendrils versus the spores, which it was a real roundabout way for me for him being like, yeah, I didn't want to do a spore-based show where people wore masks and gas masks in
Mm,
2022. Like it just had that energy. Even though it's not what he said, it had the energy of like, yeah, I didn't want to do a spore-based thing in
yeah.
2023 where everyone is thinking about a virus that is because the spores are more complicated than just like oh, if you're talking to someone 5, 6 feet away from each other, you could get COVID. It's different than that because it's like if they're not if it's not a spore heavy area,
Mhm.
you're fine. But if there's too many, so it's like it's a lot to explain. Where the tendrils are pretty like
Yeah, pretty cut and
simple,
dry. Yeah.
pretty simple. You either get bit or you get tendrils in your orifices, and then you die. So um and so he like talked about that, but he was also talking about how like all of that research, which included the Boston stuff, kind of was already there because the game. But then Neil and Craig just like took it a step further and went and researched it again to see like what had changed and all that kind of stuff, which I
Mhm.
think is pretty cool. How you should make shows and movies. Just if you're adapting something, go back and do additional research.
Mhm.
Can't hurt, just makes it
Yeah,
great.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's ridiculous.
But so they're fighting these clickers. They're real
Mhm.
fast. And so this mushroom boy comes running, jumps over. I still don't fully understand. My friends, when I said my friend Sophie, who she said she'll be on this podcast because I asked her. Uh, she said to me that they have like bats like sonar, but that is hinting to me that that is, like, insinuating that Rachel Leishman, know what bat sonar does. I've seen Batman. I know how Batman uses sonar, but I don't fully understand how that helps a bat. Like, is it just, like, if you're in the radius that it gets like, I don't understand.
See, I mean, like with the clickers, like wasn't it? Oh man, it's been a hot minute. Wasn't it like different kinds of clickers had different kinds of range or something?
That
I can't
sounds
remember.
right, but
I
also,
might be
like,
making that up in my brain.
can they see? Ashley
No,
said
yeah, that's the thing. They can't see, so the like it's just about. I think it's about like the how well they hear. I don't know. I shouldn't be saying stuff like this.
Ashley said it depends on the stages, so it is, like, depending on where you are.
Oh.
Listen, like, yeah, how she said and how long they've been infected.
Mhm.
Okay, so, like, here's what we all need to know, they're fast as shit. So, all of a sudden, you'll just be chilling somewhere and it'll go and they come running at you, and then you like, bye. You either gotta
Yeah,
run or die. You got 2
exactly.
or murder the human clicker thing. Um, I hope my impression of a clicker goes viral on the internet. Uh, I think that was spot on.
We need to use that to clip to promote the episode.
Yeah. And then they go running. This is why I'm not a voice actor. I was not in charge of making the sounds of the clickers. But so they're in there, they're running around the fucking a Boston museum. I don't know what museum it is. It just the Boston Museum?
Yeah, I think so. Just the
Okay.
Boston.
I was like, I don't
It
know
said
which one.
Boston Museum on it, so I'm gonna assume that it is the
The
Museum of Boston.
so they're like in then there everything's breaking, they're fighting these two. And in the hubbub, first of all, the one clicker fully falls on Joel and is like on top of him. To
Yeah.
which I tweeted, and I stand by it. I too would like to bite Joel Miller. So I stand by that tweet.
I
Um,
mean,
I'm not wrong. Uh, but that clicker, we'll call him Carl. Carl is trying to bite Ellie and Joel. They get
mhm.
up. Joel shoots him twice, or shoots him. Yeah, he shoots that one twice, shoots him once, but the other one, whatever. It's gone. It's dead. And so then another one comes in. Tess hits him with like a fucking axe. I don't know where she got that. Might be an artifact. She might be killing him with like Abraham or the axe George Washington used to cut down the cherry tree.
Wouldn't that be legendary? I support it.
Yeah, the titular axe. She she throws it into the thing's neck. It doesn't die, so Joel has to shoot him, and then he dies. And through all of that, they're like, "Woof, made it out." Except for Ellie goes, "Ah, fuck!" As soon as she like, gets out and is like bit again in the same arm, and it's great because she's just like, "Ugh, whatever."
Yep.
And Joel's like, "Ugh, put this on your arm." Like no one cares. And I do love that they're just
Mhm.
like, she's like, because in the game, if I remember correctly, they didn't know what would happen if she got bit again. They were like, We don't know."
Mhm.
Like, it might have just been a fluke that one time. But in the
Right.
show, they're like, I don't fucking know. Because Tess says to her, but they can rip you to pieces. Like, you
Mhm.
might not be infected, but they can still rip you to pieces.
Yep.
But then they're just like hanging out. They, they
There's
walk.
just like a moment of peace, like a moment, and then that moment is gone forever.
Yeah, because they go down. They go to they go to the Capitol because that's where they're trying to get because that's where the Fireflies are supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, I know the plot of this show. I was just like, they go down to the thing and then they walk over to the thing. But they're going to the Capitol
Going
building.
to the Capitol, gonna get me some mushrooms, gonna yeah.
Yeah, I did say while I was watching this last night, and I think it would be funny. I was like, do you think they ever have to do like the Walking Dead thing where the Walking Dead, like if you recall, they'll cover themselves in blood and just like walk next to
Yeah.
zombies? I said, would they do that but like douse themselves in like truffle oil? Just be like,
Get
uh,
every mushroom you can
you can
get from that
find
old dilapidated Burger King. I don't
a
care how bad
Burger
it
King.
smells.
Burger King.
I don't know if Burger King serves mushrooms. I haven't ordered from them in a while. That Jack in the Box, do they serve mushrooms?
Why don't you just choose a fancy restaurant? You're like, here's all the fast food places.
Uh, the Five Guys.
Yeah, Five Guys at least has a mushroom.
He's got to have like a mushroom on that burger somehow, some way.
But yeah, so they're like, they have a moment of peace. Well, Benjamin's on the podcast. Hi, Benji.
Hello,
Um,
Benji.
so they have a moment of peace. They're all just sitting like, Ellie's like, whatever, I guess I got bit again. Wraps her arm up. And then Joel's like, he says something to her. I can't remember what it is. Where he was like, "Oh, now you're not afraid?" And she's like, "This is wood." Just walks across this crickety old bridge just without fear. She was just like, "Time to walk."
Mhm.
It's like, "Ma'am."
There are some things in here that are just like, is that a little too video game accurate? Because like, I'm pretty sure like those were moments where like she walked across the wooden plank and then Joel walked across it, and it was like this is how you walk across a wooden plank. Like in the game, it was an ability, but like in the show, it's just like,
They just do it. Listen,
why not?
I already saw all the tweets that were like, "These ladders were just hanging up. I had to lift that shit every time I wanted a ladder."
Exactly.
It was that and then the people who were like, "Show's not accurate. Joel didn't die 4 times before he even got through the first level."
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, so they're like, they just walk across this blank, and Tess is just sitting there, and at first you're like, "Ah, she's just happy to be alive."
Hmm.
If you don't know jack shit, that's what you think. But she is like, "Mwah." So then they're going to the Capitol building, and they find this truck. First of all, Joel probably thought it was like Fedra, but it is the way that like he goes to see if anyone's in this truck. I'm like, did you think a clicker was just like hanging out in this truck?
I don't
Clicker's
think
just
they
like,
know how to do that. I don't think they know how to sit.
could you imagine if a clicker was just like, I'm gonna drive this truck to Boston because I heard
Mhm.
there's not many of us there, so I can eat. Like, okay.
That would be a very resourceful clicker. That
Like,
would be
yeah.
that would be scary. Little scary.
That clicker is like, I got this, guys. I'm about to drive. Um, but so he opens the truck, there's no one in there. He does an insane way of like checking on the truck instead of just like looking through, being like, cool. He goes the whole way around and opens the other door, and I'm like, what do you think happened in the 2 whatever. But then they're like, all right, let's go. And they see one of the fireflies they're supposed to be finding is dead. And so they're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And they go into the Capitol building and all of the fireflies that they were looking for are just like murdered.
Mhm.
And so uh they're like trying to figure out what to do next. They're all kind of like yelling at each other. And then when they're like trying to think ahead of where to go, Tess is saying stuff that like finally clues Ellie into the fact that she's infected.
Mm.
Because Ellie is the one that's like, shit, she's infected. And I have a question. Because like the line reading of this, first of all, we were warned in that first episode. It shows you the degrees of like how fast you will become infected
Mhm.
based on where you got bit. And the neck where Tess was bitten was like 3 hours tops.
Mhm.
And so the way that she was like, yeah, our luck ran out. I wanted to be like, what was your game plan, friend? Because you got bit. You knew you got bit in the neck. And
Yep.
you knew it wasn't getting better. So, like, what was your game plan? Drop this girl off, be like, "Hey, Joel, you wanna go have a romp in the hay right quick before I become a clicker?"
Yeah, just
Like
one last go. I mean,
she was too calm for my taste. Anna Torv, I love you, but what was your game plan? What were you
well,
gonna
I
do?
mean, I'll give her credit for that calmness. That's a lot more than a lot of people can say in the middle of an apocalypse with the way they'll carry themselves around what is effectively a child. Like Ellie is
That's
wise
true.
beyond her years. She's seeing some shit, but at the same time, like you need to. There's just I think there's like a second sense with like adults, like not even like a parental like sense. Like if we're in trouble, like we're not gonna tell the kid immediately. Like we're
Mhm.
going to try and find a way to solve that problem without causing like stress or trauma to what is already a traumatized child. So
See,
like I get
I'm
that.
gonna be loud as shit, like, "Fuck, I got bit.
I got bit. Everybody run! Ah!
Fuck." It's, like, "Somebody bit me, leave me here, I'm dead." And it's like a bug, and they're like, "You got bit by a goddamn bug." I'm like, "I just felt a bite."
It's an ant bite. Zombie ant.
Uh, but so she, like her and Joel are, like, having a moment, but then
Mhm.
Ellie, girl, I love you so much, Ellie, but, like, Ellie's like, "We can't leave her." "Yes, you can, girl. You can leave her. She's going to become a clicker. You
She will
know
leave
this."
you.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Bye."
Mhm.
Ellie
Yep.
was like, "Nope." Her and Joel are, like, talking, and it's, like, one of those things where it was like, I do really like that speech, but from, like, a sad girl perspective, where she's like, basically, like, "I've always loved you, I know you haven't loved me, just, like, shut up and let me say it." Like, girl, who among us hasn't?
Right.
She's just like, yeah, but it's interesting because like, the game, they don't even have, like, the cuddle moment that we got to see. Like, I don't even think they were living together, like, they're
No.
living together in the TV show, so it's more kind of like, those 2 have fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. 100% they have. Yeah, that's happened.
I'm so sorry if anyone from Pedro Pascal's team ever listens to this podcast, I'm like, "Those 2 fucked."
Hey guys, please book us for the next
Yeah,
event. We really want to go to the Mandalorian red
yeah.
carpet. As you can see, we are professionals. You can definitely.
We're professionals. Did you see my clicker impression?
As seen on Variety, Vanity Fair, Sci-Fi,
As told by Tim
Mary
multiple
Sue.
times. I'm just over here, those 2 be fucking. Um, but they, like, truly, truly, honestly did fuck. Because but there is, like there was info in the, like, companion podcast about, like, they cut it, but, like, Tess's husband and kid, uh, were bitten and turned
Mhm.
not turned, infected. Um, and so, like, like, that's why she, like, had, like, 0 hope, and then when she saw that Ellie, like, didn't turn, or you know what I mean? Like her bite healed. She was like, "Holy shit! Like there is hope for people," which I respect. That's a nice lady. She got bit, knew she wasn't gonna make it, but was like she could help others. Meanwhile, I'd be like, "No, I'm taking her down with me. No one is getting out of this. If I have to die in the process of this, I'm taking her and the hottie that I've been fucking for through the
This does not bode well for you if you need to run west and there's an apocalypse. I'll be like, I'm not home.
I'm not home. I've heard Rachel's plan.
No, sorry, no.
No, I fully know I would never survive an apocalypse. I think I could, but then I know I wouldn't. I'd be dead so fast.
Give myself like 3 months tops. I don't know.
Yeah. I do always have like a game plan. I'm like, I would hijack a car. I don't know how to hotwire a car, but I said I'd hijack one.
I learned how to repair a power generator once while I was writing a novel, but I don't know how reliable my memory would be. So, but I have a really high survival skill and competence. So
I'm gonna buy another electric bike since mine got stolen and just like electric bike my way out.
Yeah.
Hope the infected aren't fast enough to get I'd be like, I gotta go. I'm on the 4th floor. If I know anything about zombies, they can't climb. They can't climb stairs. I'm solid. But, but yeah, so Tess got bit. She's like, couldn't last forever. And so her and Joel are talking, and she has a really good line. Like we're making jokes, but it is truly one of the like most heartbreaking, but like most badass ways to go out in this game and show. Because like, I wrote about this, but what's cool about The Last of Us is there are so many different female characters. That right now, currently, the female characters outweigh the male characters. Because we really got Joel and Tommy, and then it's Marlene's Firefly friend, who I forget her name, but she has one ear. It was Tess, Ellie. So it's what 4-ish women to the 2 dudes. So it's kind of cool to see, like, yeah, Tessa's death is not like if a woman died in any other piece of media, because you'd be like, great, well there goes the one lady. So it's kind of cool. But she tells him, save who you can save. So bigger woman than I'll ever be. You can. That's a lie. I was telling people to mask up in the pandemic. I would sacrifice my life for the greater good. I would Spock my way out of this. Because basically, save who you can save is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. This is the same mentality. You got the one person who's like, I'll die to save humanity. First of all, girl, you were dying anyway. But she tells Joel to go and see Bill and Frank, which is different from the game. Because in the game, she's like, go find Tommy. Because Joel and Tommy aren't talking.
Right.
And in the show, they have clearly been talking. So that's a nice little switch. So we're going to Bill and Frank next episode. And basically, and in another change, Tess, Fedra is following them. And so, like, Tess uses herself as a distraction so that Joel and Ellie can, like, get out. In the show, the clickers are all coming because they woke up like one of the like dormant little tendril thingies, and so all these clickers are coming. And so Tess is like, I'm gonna blow us up. And gets a smooch before she dies. It's just not who you think it is.
Yeah. Doesn't go out quite the way one would expect. Oh God. I have to click away. I can't look at the window.
Why couldn't Joel Miller just get smooched on. We had to watch this fucking tendril thing go into her mouth.
Oh my god.
Oh, so she got mouth tendrilled by this clicker while she's trying to like light gasoline on fire so she can blow up the thing. Because Joel basically like dragged Ellie out of there and was like, let's fucking go. And so they're running, so they're trying to get away from the clickers. She blows it all up, and so Joel and Ellie can then go to like where Frank and Bill are. And that's the end of the episode. And it's like it's good. I don't like that's the thing is the show is just good. And you're like, even though they walked around a bunch, you're like, I had the time of my life. They were walking.
Yeah, I grew up with Lord of the Rings. Do you know how exciting walking is for me?
They're just walking everywhere.
They're just walking all over the place.
Yeah.
That's like 90% of the movies. I'm all about walking.
I was a snarky child, so I loved it. 'Cause every time Ellie would say something, she would have someone would tell her something, she'd have some fucking smart ass thing to say.
I loved it. It was a good episode. It's a good step toward exactly what we're gonna get for the rest of the series, which is a Joel and Ellie story.
Yeah.
And I think like it was good because they've both had their own like personal losses, but they also did. Now they share a loss with Tess. You know, like even though Ellie didn't spend all that much time with her, Tess clearly made an impression on her, and so I think this is gonna be exciting to see where it goes next. I'm excited for Nick Offerman.
I love Nick Offerman. Obviously, I didn't do this on purpose. I should have saved this for next week, but I am wearing my Pawnee, Indiana shirt. Yeah, I love a good Nick Offerman in my life. But the like what you were saying earlier, like I really do love the slow build. I wrote about this today too. The slow build of their relationship because like it'd be so easy to just basically make her into a carbon copy of his daughter and make it like if this show took place even like 2 years after Sarah's death, maybe he would have been more like instantly like I got to help this child. But it's been 20 years. He's like come to terms with his daughter being dead. The last thing he kind of wants is to like deal with the child and like be reminded constantly of his daughter. Because at the end of the first episode, we saw him have that flashback where he was like, "This is how I lost Sarah," and it's like, oh, he's not over that. But now they are, for lack of a better term, trauma bonded to each other.
Yeah,
because
that's basically it.
Because they both lost her. It's like, yeah, their relationships were very different, but he was still a dad. He's not going to forget how to like comfort a 14-year-old.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him open up a little bit more every episode. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to about the upcoming episodes?
So I believe 2 of our upcoming episodes are directed by women, which I'm really excited about. And I'm really hyped to see more Joel and Ellie. Like their relationship is very integral to this series and to what is hopefully going to turn into more seasons that'll lead into The Last of Us too. So I really want to see them get like super close. I want the audience to have lots of opportunities to bond with them, and what comes of their kinship together. And yeah, I'm hyped. What about you?
Yeah, I'm excited about the relationship. I'm excited just for how this is gonna sound so fake. I was about to say just how hot he is, but like he embodies Joel Miller in a way. But like, let me explain. Joel Miller himself is incredibly hot. Like that character when you're playing the game has an energy that you're like, yes, please save me from the apocalypse, sir. And so like, even though I think Pedro Pascal is an attractive man and I'm very like in love with him. Watching this show, I'm like, oh, he nailed that energy that you get when you're watching you're playing the game. I said watching the game because that's what I did. But like, because that's what Joel is. Joel is like a character who like is just people are attracted to a video game because he just has a vibe that's like I'm gonna protect you, but I'm also like I don't bullshit around. And I was like, I don't know, I love that energy. And I think he does it so well in this series that it is wild. Like it for a man who is like, I don't know how to play video games. I've never played video games. He mastered that character like no one's business. And I'm sure he went through the like, the motions of it. But like, yeah, I think I don't know. I'm really excited to see how people react to like the other things he does throughout the series with Joel. I just think he's so good. And I love their little relationship too. I think like the third episode is one of the best episodes of TV that I've seen in a while, but also just like in general, it's so good. Um Hi, Benji. For those that are watching or listening, not watching, my cat just took up my whole screen. But like I think their episode 3 is just one of those episodes where people are either going to be like, "Oh my god, this is so good," or I hope everyone just thinks it's good. I don't want there to be any discourse about it. I hope everyone is just like, "Yeah, that's a good episode of TV." So like what they did with Bill and Frank, and their kind of relationship with Joel and everything, and I think it's really cool. That's what I'm looking forward to. Also, thank you, Ashley. Ashley got me no smart ass from when Joel is just straight up in the water, uh, telling Ellie she's a smart ass. This cat just wants to be on the podcast.
Yep.
Well, for one quick last thing before we do stash of the week, there's that kiss again. But now it is time for the tried, the true stash, 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 to stash, 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 to stash. The stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's.
Yay!
Oh, Benji turned it back on.
Benji was like, "No, I want to see that shot again, please."
I gotta go. So first up is
the tired dad stash. Like Ellie sasses him so bad right before this, and he just kind of like rolls his eyes, and I loved it. It was great. Great lighting in the scene. He looks fantastic. He looks so done with her. And I just appreciated it a lot.
And mine, I guess, which is just, something's wrong with me in this show. Because when he is at his lowest is when I'm just like, hot. Because we cannot forget the bloody bicep. Or booty. But my stash choice of the week is when he learns that Tess is infected and he will no longer get to be chitty chitty bang banging.
No more bang banging, just chitty chittying.
Not even chitty chittying because she's about to be a mushroom. Tess.
Clicky clicking.
That was my clicker Tess version. That's my favorite because I don't know, he was real hot when he was sad about it. And yeah, overall I think it was a very good episode. I liked it. I did like just how kind of simple it was. So I know they're not all going to be that way, and I know a lot of them. I'm saying this like, I don't know. I know that a lot of them are going to be more action packed, and like I like the second episode. I think it's a good second episode. It's just kind of like, hey, here's the world. We're easing you in. We're going to show you that no one is really safe. We'll kill whoever the fuck we want. And yeah, I think it's just a cool kind of continuation of the story.
So far, so good.
Hell yeah, it is. All right, Catrina, where can the people find you?
You can find me anywhere on the internet. If you look for OHCATRINA, I'm pointing at my name tag for those listening here on the stream. And I'm going to be doing cool stuff. I'm streaming a bunch this week. So come watch me stream. and I have a bunch of projects that are just on the cusp of being announced, but I just have to wait a little bit longer before I can promote them. So stay tuned. Where can we find you, Rachel?
At Rachel Leishman on Twitter, at Rachel_Leishman on Instagram. Pedro, if you want to refollow me on social media, you can follow me there if you're listening. Yeah. And you can find my work at the Mary Sue and Collider, where I do a lot of SNL for Collider, which Nick Offerman adjacent. I wrote about Leslie Knope coming back to NBC this last weekend because that was the greatest thing that ever happened. You guys just met Benjamin Wyatt the cat, who knocked the thing over, but yeah, I think that's all my places. You can follow the podcast at Podro Pascal. Pedro Pascal, if you want to email us, it's pedropascalpod@gmail.com.
Yes.
I'm going to start ending every episode.
Yeah. Pedro, if you or your reps want to get in contact with us, there are several ways you can do this. So
my DMs are literally open.
Mine are not, but for you, anything.
But yeah, like, rate, subscribe, review, tell your friends who like video games but are chill about it. Come and listen.
Tell related people on red carpets that Podro Pascal exists.
Yeah, keep telling him about Podro Pascal, so then he's finally so annoyed that he's like, I gotta figure out what the fuck this is.
I guess I'll go.
Until next time. Bye-bye.